Hello everybody, and welcome to Oghuview, where I like to talk about the games I played on my channel. This is not so much a review as usual as more as an overview, and in this episode we are gonna talk about Shadow Warrior, or more specifically the 2013 reboot on Xbox Series X. What do you get if you make a first-person shooter mixed with cheesy one-liners from 80s and 90s action movies, some Asian stereotypes, and a whole lot of blood? I'm not sure either, but I guess Shadow Warrior is definitely something out of these components and more. I can't really talk about the original game since I haven't played that and I'm not sure how, quote, true to its root, unquote, the 2013 version from Fire Wild Hog is in comparison to the 1997 version from 3D Realms. But I can talk about this game and oh boy, it really is something. The game is a love letter to old school first-person shooters in many ways. The graphics though are more up to date, still not on a AAA level, but it ran smoothly and looked nice. The whole game had a nice style, incorporating western and far eastern elements into one cohesive piece. As for the sound and music, those were fine too, although none of the tracks got stuck in my head. And yeah, there is at least one copyright protected song in there, so be aware if you want to stream and or upload this game to a platform of your choice too. Oh well. Yet still, there is one thing I want to mention about the sound, and that is the voice acting. You will love it or hate it, I'm sure about that. And that goes doubly for Wang himself. And no, you heard me correctly. The quote hero unquote is called Wang. Lo Wang. Just in case anybody was questioning themselves what kind of one-liners and puns are in this game, the name of the main protagonist is a very clear indication on that front.
You should see the other guy.
As for controls, I had some problems at the beginning of the game with them. The more I played and got accustomed, and the more options I got, the better it felt. But the game feels not very good at the beginning. It just lacks a lot of options, you can't really play like the ninja badass you're supposed to be. And as I said, practice is important, but it's more than that. I think the controls themselves are a diamond in the rough, even at its peak. They're nice, and I'm not sure how to make them better, but something is still a bit off. And yet, at the beginning of the game, the feeling is at its worst, which is always a big problem, since it might be the reason why people stop playing a game. Me too, I did that too. I started to play this game many years ago on PC, but it felt even more weird back then, with mouse and keyboard, so I stopped. Maybe the sequel can bring the controls to its full potential. There is something great there, but it just isn't there yet. And yet there is one thing in the gameplay department that I just have to mention. Why did they put fall damage into this game? Fall damage. In a first-person shooter we are supposed to play a badass ninja. I mean, fall damage by itself is not the worst thing ever, it depends on the game. Usually I'm not a really big fan of it. But in this game, you're supposed to be a ninja, zigging and zagging across the landscape, fighting demons. And then falling can kill you. You really wanna tell me this is about realism? And not only that, but the amount of damage you can take is ludicrous. It really seems like there's a variable in the game, in the background, that counts the distance you traveled in air. And if it gets further than, well, let's say 5 meters, 10 feet, something along those lines, then you're dead instantly. But you can easily jump far more than those 5 meters, like 10 meters, 20 meters, or those 10 feet, like 30 feet or something. And sometimes you can even dash further than this. Dash further. I mean, come on.
What happened to your body?
But oh well, it is what it is. As for the story, I have to say it was more interesting and developed than I thought it would be. Maybe the story itself is something quite well known, maybe in the Far Eastern Asia, except for Lo Wang of course, but the things around him. But I really didn't know anything about it before this game. It was nothing groundbreaking, don't get me wrong here, but for a straightforward first-person shooter, it was quite something, to be honest. As for achievements or trophies, I have to say I did not take a closer look at those. I just wanted to have fun with the game. And I think it was better I did it that way. Nothing seems too hard at a glance, but one trophy / achievement in particular seems rather punishing, as you need to finish the game on the hardest difficulty, which also incorporates if you die you have always to go back at the beginning of the chapter. So be aware of that. If you like first person shooters, especially old school ones, I think you can't go too wrong with this game. For anybody else, better take a really close look at this game. It had its strengths and weaknesses, but I do think most people will fall in one of two categories. You will either love it or hate it. It depends on some of the factors I tried to lay out in this Oghuview, and I personally did enjoy it, but I don't see myself coming back too soon. Also, if you own something like Game Pass where it's on, I guess trying it won't be too much of a stretch.
Looks like you found yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
So, and this was the Oghuview of Shadow Warrior. I hope you liked what you've seen. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe. All the jazz helps the channel grow, makes your Oghu happy. And I hope to see you again in the next episode of either Oghuview or Oghupower. Bye bye.